राब्ता हो चुका है ना ऊपर हो गया أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يوصيكم الله في أولادكم للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين فإن كن نساء فوق اثنتين فلهن ثلثا ما ترك وإن كانت واحدة فلها النصف ولوالديه لكل واحد منهم السدس مما ترك إن كان له ولد فإن لم يكن له ولد وورثه أبواه فلأمه الثلث فإن كان له إخوة فلأمه السدس من بعد وصية يوصي بها أو دين آباؤكم وأبناؤكم لا تدرون أيهم أقرب لكم نفعا فريضة من الله إن الله كان عليما حكيما ये वसीयत की वो मरकज़ी आयत है जिस पे गुफ्तगू जारी है इसमें जो बातें मैंने पहले बयान की थी
This is the main verse of wasiyat or will which we have been discussing. This is verse 12 of chapter 4. So is saying that matters I have discussed previously with reference to this verse, one of them, one thing worthy of special note is where it says وَإِنْ كَانَتْ وَاحِدَةٌ فَلَهَا النِّصْفُ وَلِأَبَوَيْهِ لِكُلِّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا السُّدُسُ مِمَّا تَرَكَ إِنْ كَانَ لَهُ وَلَدٌ. Here the portion has been made to 1/6 and it is equal between the two parents, and I've already explained this to you that this tells us that the yusikumullahu they're saying that this is with reference to children and not for everyone else, because at the end of this otherwise it wouldn't have been swapped at the end. But if the parents sometimes in some cases it would be the same ratio as 2:1. It doesn't mean, it is not a general command. It's because they will be if the children are not present, then if they receive the inheritance, then the ratio will be 1:2, and that is 1 to the father and 2 to 2 to the father and 1 to the mother. But if there are no children and the parents are becoming the heirs, then the mother has a third, so the other two parts would then belong to the father. We're saying that why did it not say that the father will have twice the share? Because in Arabs especially, in reference to the inheritance, there was more inclination towards men, so it could may well be that the people of the time may have thought that if the mother isn't mentioned, let us just forget her at all. So the Holy Quran has compelled them by mentioning the mother, that the father you can conjecture as to how much should be given, but the mother is essential. So these possibilities that were around at the time, these have been kept in view, and this is sheds light on the incredible wisdom and understanding of the Holy Quran and the cognizance of the people of the time. So Huzur is saying that it says that the thuluth of the mother, his thuluth, the thuluth is going to be given to the mother, that is the third will be given to the mother in any case. So because otherwise people would have given the father separately, and the mother could have been put in a bag with other people. So why does it say وَوَرِثَهُ أَبَوَاهُ? Huzur is saying if there is no children, then obviously the fathers should be the inheritors. So وَوَرِثَهُ أَبَوَاهُ. It appears that there are two conditions here. If there are no children, then, and on top of that, the parents are the inheritors, then this is the ratio of 2 and 1. So is there any situation when the parents are not the inheritors or the heirs of the full inheritance? Then after this it says فَإِنْ كَانَ لَهُ إِخْوَةٌ فَلِأُمِّ السُّدُسُ. So if the person who is dying does not have children but he has brothers and sisters, then his mother will have a sixth. مِنْ بَعْدِ وَصِيَّةٍ يُوصِي بِهَا. Or then after the payment of any bequests he may have bequeathed, or of debts. Also the actual cost of the distribution is also included in this. Obviously that will be taken out first, and then after that what is left, whatever is left will then be shared out. Then you're saying that what is now becoming clear should be put in your mind very clearly, should be understood very clearly. So Allah is saying that if the parents are, if a child dies in such a situation that he has children, then after giving to those children, a sixth and a sixth will be given to the mother and the father. Or it should be said that if there are children, then the mother and the father's sixth share and sixth share will be taken out first, and then what is left would be equally distributed among the children. But if there are no children, and the condition is that the parents only are becoming the inheritors and there is no other to share in the inheritance, and again it will be the same condition which has been said about the children, that because then they'll be regarded as being just replacing the children, and then the man will get two portions, and the mother would get one portion. So we're saying that, but now what is the situation if the parents are not the only inheritors? If so, then if the one who's dying does not have any children but he has brothers and sisters, then the parents will not be completely as their inheritors, sole inheritors, like their children were. Then they will both get a sixth, and this is with an if. What is coming to focus is that when you go into this, this is what appears, but because there are brothers and sisters, therefore Allah has not made the parents the sole heirs instead of the children, who don't exist. But their original situation returns to them as if there are children, and they get a sixth, 1/6 for the father and 1/6 for the mother. So the rest will then be received by the brothers and sisters. So we're saying this is where lots of disagreements begin. And those differences we were saying that I should put before you later on. أباؤكم وأبناؤكم لا تدرون أباؤكم وأبناؤكم لا تدرون أيهم أقرب لكم نفعا. أباؤكم means both. You do not know your father and your children, you know not which of them is more beneficent for you. Um, will you take more benefit from the children or your parents? This is to do with the unknown, the knowledge of the unknown. But in any case, this is an obligation, and the Quran is saying that you cannot make any change to this obligation, at how much you are going to give. It doesn't matter how much you expect to receive from anyone or benefit you're going to receive from anyone. The Holy Quran has said that because Allah has said it, this is an obligation. And if you try to change this through other arguments, and this is not right, you should stay within this, and you should ascertain things from this. Inna Allaha kana aliman hakima. Allah is the source of all wisdom, and so do not think that Allah does not know something, and which would afterwards have become a clay. So and don't think that there is some defects in this. There is no defect in this, and if you use your intelligence, then you will understand everything that you need. It will be found in this verse. I was already saying, when we go into the discussions of the jurisprudence scholars, many new things come before us. This verse is proving. Huzur is saying that all agree on this, that the expenses of the person who has died, or the burial expenses, they should all be paid. And then the rest should be distributed. Huzur is saying that which matters are such, which matters are such that someone can remain devoid of receiving inheritance despite the fact that there should be just recipients. One of them is slavery, one is disbelief and to be a disbeliever, and the other is death. Huzur is saying that this about being a slave, this again is something which should be thought about, because a lot of things have been conjectured, and it has not been regarded that those certain decisions of the Holy Prophet ﷺ were particular for a particular time. For example, if there was a war and the disbelievers and the believers became separate, and the disbelievers made the Muslims devoid of all of their inheritance, and if there's such a situation, if the command is that they will also not get a share of inheritance, then this would be the reason. That would be the reason to say that, and wouldn't be a permanent command. So two things could have been ascertained. One is that there is a war. The disbelievers had taken over the Muslims' wealth and properties, etc., and they had taken away all their rights. So, will this inheritance verse give them their inheritances back? Because if the migrants, one of the migrants die, and they have got something through the Brotherhood in Medina, and then or afterwards Allah opened some doors of favor on them, and they have some money, some inheritance, and Huzur saying that this is not, those things only refer to certain particular situations and circumstances. So if those situations are removed, and from both sides the justice is upheld, then to say that this verse stops the non-Muslims from receiving the inheritance of the Muslims, and to say that this verse permits people to do that, it would not be correct. This is the same situation in the war situations as one is permitted to use slave girls. The Prophet ﷺ has said it very clearly that these are things which are conditional. If the enemy is treating your women like this, then you have a right to do the same. And if they don't, and you still do it, then the dishonor of disrespect of all the Muslim women will be at your hands. So to derive a conclusion from the Holy Quran which attacks the honor of a Muslim women is something that no logical Muslim should accept. There are particular situations of particular wars, and these conjectures that have been made here, they are in situations of war, and the derivations from certain traditions. Most jurisprudence scholars have arrived at this conclusion that a Muslim should not receive the inheritance of a non-believer and vice versa. So in this derivation, even if there is that fault, the weakness that this war situations have been made general, but it cannot be at the expense of losing justice, because if a non-believer's child becomes a Muslim's child becomes becomes a disbeliever and then loses his inheritance, then should they the child of a disbeliever, if he becomes a Muslim, then should he not be given inheritance either? If this was the case, then it would be there would be justice would be upheld. But then from another regard, this would be wrong, which is that all the companions whose parents it wasn't sure whether their parents were monotheists. In fact, they were idolaters, and they got their inheritance from their parents. So then what happened to this condition that they shall not get each other's inheritances? We were saying that in this case, then another hindrance will be born in the middle. So we must take this to mean that in war situations, the important principle to uphold is that of equality, and the normal situations, normal commands become postponed, they don't get cancelled. So, but you cannot. It creates a lot of problems if you try to apply these to normal situations. And then, as far as the slavery is concerned, to regard this as being some Huzur used the word I think it's Arabic, perhaps, I'm not sure. Huzur saying that the rights of a slave that the Holy Quran has said, he is the master of some of his wealth, because the principle of kitabat that the Holy Quran has mentioned and people have accepted, then nobody can say that everything that belongs to the slave belongs to the master, so it will return, his wealth shall return to the master and will not go to the children. This is not acceptable in Islam, and it is not true that a child that is born to a slave will be a slave too. Any child that is born is born free, and none has the right to disagree with this. Those children who were born free, what is their fault? That they were born in the house of a slave, and for the slave being a master of nothing. Where is this proven from? As the Holy Quran says, that if the slave says to you that take money from me and let me go free, then it will be an obligation on you. You'll be compelled to let him go. Where did he get the money from if he doesn't have anything for himself? So where is he going to get the money from? And then the other matter is that if he says that I will earn afterwards and give it to you, then even then the Muslim or the Qazi or the judge would have to rule in the favor of the slave, and the Qaza will not sit that to see whether his claim should be accepted or not. The Qaza will only sit in such a treaty of manumission, that is the slave presenting conditions which are appropriate or not. Is he saying that I will give you in 50 years I'll give you 10 rupees per year? So is he doing something which was appropriate in the economic terms? And such conditions should be set between them, or that the master is being too strict, and he says that no, you should just pay me in 2 goes, in 6 months. Or if the slave costs too much and he can't earn that much at all, but the slave is not master in the sense of it's a conditional mastery, and Allah has given some principles of his freedom. So then, but to say that the slave will not get any share, I don't accept it. My human nature can't accept that unless there is a investigation to this matter as to in which situation this happened, and if there is a proof that if the Holy Quran or from the tradition is proven, then that it is correct, then there must be something wrong with our human nature or our common sense. We can't say that our intelligence is more intelligent and we should not accept this. But it is very important to know that the authenticity of where something is coming from, and they should also shed light on on all the circumstances on which that situation applies, and it also should be proven as to why other derivations can be made. If other derivations can be made, then no one has the right to decide one way or another. So it can be more than one. If someone is acting with righteousness and he is deriving something different from it, then it is his right. And if he's not doing so with righteousness, then Allah will seize him. But it is one's righteousness does not demand that you should enforce your own will upon others, your own derivation upon others. But if there are some derivations or some if some are accepted, then if the nation makes a decision, then and then acting upon that is not important, because it's the Sharia law. But it means that the whole nation has a right to make a law with respect to a particular tradition. So because one is bound by the law, so then he cannot retract from that. But individually, despite that, he has the right to say that as far as I'm concerned, this subject, what they have thought of it is wrong, and what I think is correct. But he still has to bow his head before the law. For example, when an Ahmadi gets a punishment for claiming La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, it doesn't mean that the Ahmadi has lost the right to say that. And this is if the democracy has made a cruel plan, a cruel law, then they can enforce that through punishments, but they cannot remove that from the minds of an Ahmadi. No, neither has the society has a right to do that, and Allah does not give it permission, and also the world's custom doesn't give them the permission to do that either. So these are the matters that apply to inheritance, and from this point of view, seeing what I have said, I think that just somebody being a disbeliever, no one has a right to deny a child their inheritance, and the disbelievers do not have the right either to deny the right of inheritance to a child who has become a Muslim. These are basic human rights which have to apply in equal measure on both sides, and anyone who doesn't act in accordance with this, then he is not acting in accordance with justice, except for such specific situations where in the times of war, as for this, in order to make some certain responsive tactics, he made certain decisions. Huzur is saying that I shall make some further investigations on this subject, and I shall present the proofs that people have, different commentators have given. But in this regard, Huzur is saying, as far as the murder of someone is concerned, someone who kills someone, they lose the right to live themselves, and this is why until he's alive, you have to feed him. But when there is a decision that he should be killed, then the decision is that it's because he has denied someone the right to live. So anything that he has denied him the right to have that. So he has also been denied all rights himself as well. However, if he has been denied, then some others have had the right, have gained the right, and those, if they themselves abandon the right, then his murder can be forgiven as well, and then he'll get a new life. But this is understandable about the death, this is something that I accept. No one can deny this, that if someone commits a murder, then he loses the right of inheritance. If he is going to be killed as a punishment, then if he was going to suffer capital punishment, then how could he receive inheritance? So these decisions are to do with natural death. But if someone is killed for the sake of inheritance, then through this the inheritance cannot be given to them, because of an unlawful act. No benefit can be gained, and this should be the principle in this regard. Huzur is saying that after this, it's the share of the mother and the brother. Huzur is saying this verse, if he doesn't have children and has brothers and sisters, then the mother will get a sixth. Huzur is saying, I'm returning to the verse now. Huzur is saying that this is which people have the most confusions with in their arguments. In this Tafsir Kabir Razi says that Huzur is asking for a reference. Huzur is saying that the reference of Ibn Abbas, that should also be looked at. Otherwise, people really love to allege something towards Ibn Abbas in edicts, and allege edicts towards him, Ibn Abbas, and allege false traditions towards Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. So Huzur is saying, where there is a difference, there is a danger of a difference of opinion, then you should be careful when you accept the tradition. So, but such traditions, it's a necessity that we should stop and reflect on them. As I said in English, they should be accepted with a pinch of salt, and we should judge as to whether those references have enough weight so that those traditions should be accepted. This tradition, says that Ibn Abbas says that the brothers will have that sixth which they are denying the mother, and the rest will be given to the father. This is a very interesting thing. The Holy Quran is saying that if there are no children, then a mother and father will have the share of the ratio of 2 to 1. But if there are brothers and sisters, then a mother will get a sixth. So where will the rest go? Ibn Abbas says, according to this, that the rest will go to is it the mother's share which has been reduced, not the father's. So when the Holy Quran mentions the mother and not the father, then only the mother's share has been reduced, not the father. So the sixth share of the mother that has been reduced, that will be given to them. This is what Ibn Abbas thinks. Whereas before this, in the whole verse, with reference to the mother, with reference to the father, it was being mentioned, but many scholars do not agree with this. This is called Hijat Istiqlai, I think Huzur said. Apart from Ibn Abbas, many other commentators say that when the brothers are present, then the parents get their share, except if they reduce the share of 1/3 share of the mother and they reduce it to 1/6, and no one has if someone denies someone an inheritance, then they are not an inheritor. Sorry, it's very complicated. Huzur is saying that, let me explain it to you, that someone should receive. Huzur is explaining it. He's saying that if someone doesn't have children, then the parents will be regarded as if they are the children. That all the rights that children were supposed to have, then because there's no other people who have the right to receive it, so then the parents will receive it. So if there are brothers and there are no children, then the brothers will act as a catalytic agent. That means that they will not get some of the portion themselves, but they will create a condition as a result of which the inheritors' share will change, and then the mother will get 1/6 instead of 1/3. And when she gets 1/6, then the 1/6 that is left, that will be given to the brothers. This is what Ibn Abbas is saying. And other jurisprudence scholars say that no, this is not right. It's not mentioned that they will get it. They are only act as an agent who distribute the shares, and that's it. So even though the dying person has brothers and sisters, will not get anything, but the mother her share will be reduced. So they're saying this is strange, that the mothers the mother should suffer. And the Holy Quran is giving you a way of distributing it, and they have invented this new thing in it. Some others say that they will get the share, but how much they differ on that. This is Allama Shawkani has said in Fathul Kabir that ulama agree on this. Huzur is saying this is doubtful. They say that there is agreement, but there is no agreement. They said that if the person has children who is dying, then the children should be given their money first, and then whatever is left. Huzur is saying this is correct. I do not disagree with this. Huzur is saying these are the things that I've already mentioned, that his debts, etc., should be distributed, and then the distribution of the wealth should take place. Now the other a discussion of daughter, sister, and granddaughter are now mentioned. Huzur is saying that here we go again. Now the daughters to grandchildren have been mentioned again. But the style of this tradition proves that this is not authentic, because it's something which is alleged towards the Holy Prophet ﷺ is wrong, and it appears that somebody who had a particular aim in mind, as a material motive, he made some changes in this tradition. Huzur is saying that the way this tradition has been made, this is quite interesting to reflect on. Abu Musa was asked that if someone dies and among the inheritors there's one daughter, one granddaughter, and one sister, then what will happen? That means that the one who was asking, he had a definite issue which he wanted to resolve in a particular way. So how much should they get? Then they said the half to the daughter and half to the sister, and the granddaughter shall not receive anything, because it's the same condition. If the grandchild means that the son has already died before, and then he says that you should be careful and go and ask Abdullah bin Masud to make sure that my edict is correct or not. So then this person goes to Abdullah bin Masud, and he said that if I say the same, then it will not be correct. Ibn Masud said this: I will make the decision in this regard that the Holy Prophet ﷺ made. And you know what that was? Huzur is saying that the daughter should get half and the granddaughter should get a sixth, so there's 2/3, and the rest will be given to the sister. Huzur is saying that what kind of a life is this? If it happened in the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that this discussion, if this has ever happened, then if anything like this had ever happened with respect to grandchildren in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then everybody would be quoting that. So that means, so he's trying to say that the Holy Prophet ﷺ made this decision when such a circumstance came to him. So if this is not the case, then this never happened, and as if the Holy Prophet ﷺ is making a prophecy that there's a time will come when a person who is dying, he will have one daughter, one sister, and one granddaughter, and at that time you will give 1/6 to the granddaughter, so that there is 2/3 fulfilled. He's saying this is not the style of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and what has not come to the forefront with clarity, then to make issue edicts when there is no edict in front of you. This is not the style of Allah to give such prophecies, and it is not the style of the Holy Prophet ﷺ either. Huzur saying that people get impressed with the word Bukhari and they accept something which clashes with the known personality of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and the occasion, the circumstances do not permit us to believe that. If such an occasion had occurred in the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, then all the companions would have known this. Then what was the point of Abu Musa giving this weird, twisted, indirect decision, and then all the jurisprudence people would have, commentators would have quoted this, and the reason why they're not giving reference to this is because it didn't happen in his lifetime. This is something which happened afterwards, and just a proof, they've tried to search for a proof of this. Two or more than two daughters share, the Holy Quran is saying, فإن كن نساء فوق اثنتين. If the daughters are more than two, فوق means more than, فلهن ثلث, then give them 2/3. They should be shared among them equally. Now the question is, if there are two, then out of 1/2 they should have the equal share. That means they should have 1/4 and 1/4 each, or will they be in the will they receive more than two? There are some commentators who say that more than two is very certain, very clear, that if there are two, then they will share in half of it. That means they will get 1/4 and 1/4 each, and they will not get 1/3. So we're saying there seems to be this internal contradiction with the confusion with the 1/3. So the solution to this, and this discussion, what the jurisprudence scholars have taken up, I'll present it to you. Ibn Abbas, again, this has been alleged towards him, and of the commentators, Al-Kashaf has taken up a subject, a discussion which I'll present before you. He says, if someone says that this is about two daughters and about them, what is the decision? Then the decision of that is that both of this, the command with respect to both of them is different. Ibn Abbas has given them both, have combined them, so has not combined them with respect to this verse, because the word fawqat nastan, they apply the same principles on them, and this is a proof from Ibn Abbas. But the internal wrong is evident from this, that if there are three daughters, then they'll get 1/3 and 1/3 each. So 2/3 will be distributed between them. I was asking how much that becomes. I was saying that of 2/3, if there are three daughters, then how much is the share? How much will one get? 2/3, 1/3 of 2/3, less than half, and more than 1/3. You're saying it's more than 1/3, isn't it? And if there are four daughters, those asking how much it would be? 1/6. You're saying these discussions, I'm searching for a possibility from which can tell us that if according to their principle, if there are two daughters, then they will get less than 1/3, and if they are more than that, then they'll get more. If there is one, then she'll get half. This matter is internal differences which are unbalanced. If about Ibn Abbas, if we regard this to be true, then the situation would be that if there is one daughter who takes a half, and if there's another one, then she's had it, and it's as if she has to share with her. She has to share half with her, and if there's a third one, then it's good. She's fortunate because then it will increase. Instead of 1/4, she'll get more. You're saying that. Tell me exactly how much she'll get. You're saying it's less than 1/4. You're saying this is what I was trying to say to you. It has reduced. So if there are 3, then it will be less than 1/4. And if there are 2, then no way will they get 1/3. You understand what I was asking? Because we're saying that this, the question here is that what is the fault of when there are 2? Why should 2? Why can 2 not share in 2/3? And this is something which we should discuss. We should think about, because there is a difference in their share for which there doesn't appear to be any logical reason. Therefore, the ulama have had a hesitation in accepting this, and they have, instead of accept this logical argument, and they have tried to find the proof from traditions in order to resolve this problem. There is a conclusion that has been derived by certain commentators, which has gone against this, which the Muslim Azan has also agreed with, which I shall present before you. Some commentators say that there is no difference in reality, and the Shiite point of view it favors this. He says that due to one principle she'll get a bit less, but to another principle she'll get the proper measure. So these are just matters of these are just conjectures, whereas in reality the daughters will not get any less. This was quoting, who was reading from a book of commentary or a jurisprudence edicts, and he says that an alone son will get everything, and 2 or more will have equal share. So if he's saying that they will both get it, and if there are more than 2 daughters, they'll get 1/3, and the 2/3 they'll get. And then if there are both boys and girls, then Huzur is saying that they'll get the reject. Huzur is saying that this reject means that if there's 2 or more than 2 daughters, then they'll all share equally in the 2/3. But the 1/3, if there is no other inheritor, no other heir who is in the line, that is, there is no parents or parents, then it will return to those daughters. If there are no parents, then those children will get it, and this is called rad or reject, because there is no other there is no claimant for the rest of the inheritance. So the ones who had slightly less, they are the first ones who deserve it, so they will get it. So this is an edict. And then there's another book called Minhajus Salihin, which says, and this is also an edict by the Shiites, that a sole son will get everything, and if there's a sole daughter, then all the wealth should be given to her. There's Fatima Radhiyallahu anha, she is in their point of view, therefore this becomes weak, this edict becomes weak, because alone daughters being an inheritor, this is something which is which has there's a lot of contention about, and if you say that she isn't, then Hazrat Fatima Zanha, the whole argument with her is all her argument will end as when she asked that she wanted a portion of what was earned in the Khaybar. Huzur is saying that their claim without any proof will not stand on, will not be able to stand. If the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen were present, the mothers of the believers, the Holy Prophet ﷺ's wives were present, and they have been given a share, then how could this apply? Huzur is saying that this can only apply if there is only one daughter, then the reject part of the wealth she might get. So in that case that would be okay, but they can't use this in favor of Hazrat Fatima Zanha, because there Hazrat Aisha Zanha was present, as were other wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and in their presence they could not have ignored the clear Quranic injunction that they are also to receive a portion. So they were to receive 1/8 if they didn't have children. The Holy Prophet ﷺ had female children, so they abandoned this issue, and for that they have raised other issues which are so complicated that it is essential to respond to them separately. So Huzur is saying that he wants to leave this right now, this part of it. About the Shiite point of view, there is a separate time that is required, that their idea of inheritance has to be analyzed in detail as to how far their conjecture is correct in comparison to others, the Ahl Sunnah's conjecture. Huzur is saying now Huzur wants to turn to a quotation of the Prophet Islam, which sheds light on this very clearly, and anything that Huzur may have said, Huzur said that has been said, which goes against this, should be regarded as being null and void, because he is the guide of this age, and his understanding of the Holy Quran is the be all and end all. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah gives you this inheritance, that a boy should get twice as much of a girl, and then if the girls are more than two or more than two. This is the important thing Huzur is saying to note. The Prophet ﷺ has also regarded the Fawqat Nastan to include two, that whatever somebody leaves behind of that wealth, they shall have 1/3, sorry, 2/3. I was saying, I think it says 1/3 by mistake. If there are two or more than two, then whatever the person who is dying has left, she shall get 2/3. So it was saying that if this is in the real book, then this should be corrected. And if the girl is alone, then of the inheritance, she is to receive half. So they're saying this is known, and the parents of the deceased, that is both of them, will get, which the deceased has left, is a 1/6 and not more than that. And this is in the sense that only if the person who is dying has left some children. Huzur is saying that there is nothing that I have said so far which the Prophet ﷺ has not said that I have said as well. And if the person who the deceased dies without issue, without any child, and he's got more than one brother or sister, then in that case the mother will have 1/6. But that will be given after the any expenses are given. So if uh, so who is closer to you, so whoever whatever Allah has apportioned, you should stay firm on those, because it is only Allah's knowledge which is free of any mistakes, and He does things according to wisdom, and He knows about everything. Allah is free of any mistakes, and He works with wisdom, and He's well aware of all possibilities. And whatever is left by your wives, then if they don't have any children, then you have half of their portion, and if they have children, then you have a fourth of that. So Huzur is saying the first verse is finished, and then this verse begins. And in this, the Prophet ﷺ has said that the mother should get the sixth and leave it. So for us, again, there is a room for further clarity. Huzur saying that I'm not presenting something against what the Prophet ﷺ is saying, because here when the Prophet ﷺ has said 1/6, he has left the rest to someone who is reflecting upon the subjects of the Holy Quran. He has left it open. So we shall return to this later. Hazrat Muslim Azanho, the two girls' share, Yusikumullahu. Here the wasiyat begins that the first order is given that the man shall have double the share of a girl. Then if there is more than two girls, daughters, then they should, if there's only two, then what is said with respect to them is from the previous verse, which says لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ هَذِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ, that for the son shall have the same portion as two daughters. So if then there's one daughter and there's one son, then how much will the man get? 2/3. Therefore, if there are two girls, then it should be 2/3, because their share is equal. So therefore, the focusnatan, the issue of focusnatan, because of the word folk, you cannot change the subject, because focusnatan has made it very clear that as far as the two are concerned, then their share is because of the لِلذَّكَرِ مِثْلُ هَذِّ الْأُنْثَيَيْنِ. This is a eternal principle, that if there are children, then the son's share will be double that of a boy. If there was one boy and one girl, then one girl would get 1/3 and the boy would get 2/3. And if there are two girls, then how will they be? They'll receive equal, that they'll get 2/3. And if they don't get 2/3, then how will they be equal? So he has, in a very fine manner, and he has he's bypassed this issue of folk, and he has presented another principle that is in the Holy Quran, which is a very weighty deduction, and it's a very fine deduction. So then what will their part be? Be 2/3. And so this verse proves, the way it proves that two girls' share is 2/3. Yusikumullah also tells us that these are not man's instructions, they are God's instructions, so they cannot make any changes in them. And then I think as I said, the Jews have, their religion is that if the Shiites think that the Muslim thinks that he agrees with some part of the Shiite point of view in this regard, but if only through the mother, then they will not be the recipients, because some people think that the brothers will not get a share. although the mother's share will be 1/6 because of them. Huzur is saying that this point here, Huzur is saying that I wish further rectification, because this appears that from this it appears that the Prophet Muslim has accepted this idea of Jamhur, that the 1/6, he accepts 1/6. Huzur is saying that I have informed about this before, and I'll go return to it later on. Here the questions can arise that if they are not the inheritors, then why will they reduce the share of the mother? The Jamhur respond to this by saying that because of more children, the father has more expenses, therefore, and he has to fulfill the rights, not on the mother. So in that case, the father's share has been increased, and the brother has not been given anything. Huzur is saying that the Muslim is accepting this point of view of some group called Jamhur. Huzur is saying, that I admit my lack of knowledge, but admitting my lack of knowledge, I disagree with this point of view. And Huzur is saying that it's up to anyone who's listening whether they want to listen, when they whether they agree with me or Muslim Zanho. Huzur is saying, but if there is an edict issued by the Jamaat, then people may have their individual disagreements, but there is no need, they cannot make it a point of discussion, and before that happens, before the edict is issued, they are permitted to discuss my point of view and go against it and prove against it. They are welcome to do that. Huzur is saying that I don't regard the brothers to be used as a catalytic agent. Anyone who is being mentioned with respect to the inheritance, and this proof of the 1/6, that the reason why the brothers have lessened their share because the parents have more burden, but the father has more burden and the mother has less burden, I don't think is correct, because this was also the case before the son died. So whatever responsibilities the father was fulfilling, those responsibilities continue in the same way. There is no difference in those. And then after, was he waiting for the son's death? So that as soon as he dies, the father becomes financially stronger and he can spend on the other children. Then if he was to spend on the children, then why not just give the children the share? We were saying, do you understand? The other children, if you keep them in view and you reduce the share of the mother in that, so that the father gets 2/3, this will be the issue wanted. So from the one, they'll get 1/6 will remain the mother's, and 2/3 will be given to the father, because because he is the inheritor, and because so because of the children, he will get the ratio is 2:1. So if Huzur is saying that you can't put your feet in two boats at the same time. If in the regard to the parents, the woman has to have one, and the man has to have 2 shares. If this principle is accepted and this is applied here, then when the mother's share is 1/6, then double of that is 1/3. Then what happens to the principle then? So we're saying, if you're abandoning that principle, then how can you return to it from another direction? The fact of the matter is that where it mentions the children, it's mentioned in the sense that about the parents, this principle has been said before. This a verse is spoken of 1/6. Previously, why are we ignoring that? The verse is present in the title of this verse. It says that if there is 1/6 belonging to the mother, then the father also will have 1/6. There, there is no principle of 1 or 2, 1 and 2 ratio, that Huzur is saying that, let me explain it to you. Yusikuma kula fi oladikum lizakari mislu haddil unsayan, that Allah commands you concerning your children. Lizakari mislu haddil unsayan, a male shall have as much as a share of 2 females. And about this, the Muslim Adhanhu, in the same writing, he accepts this and the same point of view that I have explained, that here about the children, the ratio is 2 to 1, and in other relationship this cannot be applied. And just for the children, there is a principle of 1 and 2. And before this, said I explained to you that if the parents have children, that means that they are to receive all, so they are like the children, so they are to receive all the inheritance. Then we can deduce that they are going to receive, if they receive 1/6, it can be rejected. So this is what the Holy Quran is saying, that the ratio of 1 and 2 will prevail if they have children. فإن كنا نساء فوق اثنتين فلهن ثلث ما ترك وإن كنا كانت واحدة فلها النصف ولأبويه لكل واحد منهما السدس. That for if there be females only numbering more than 2, then they shall have 2/3 of what the deceased leave, and if there be 1, she shall have the half, and the parents and his parents, each of them 6 of the inheritance if we have a child. So we're saying that the Quran becomes very, very clear that in the 6th, both shall be equal, shall share equally, so that at the end, when the mother's 1/6 is mentioned, then it is the same thing that's been mentioned before, that when the matter of a 6th is concerned, then it will be the same as the fathers, which has already been explained, and then the continuity of the verse does not break, and there is an internal, very strong correlation with each other, and there is no need to go outside this circle. So, as we're saying in this regard, my point of view is that the mention of 1/6 is actually pointing towards the first 1/6, in which the mother had 1/6 and the father had also 1/6. So when there is 1/6 of the mother, then the father will automatically be what has already been mentioned, and where the 1/3 has been mentioned, there the father's 2/3. I think. Sorry, Huzur is saying in the Quran, the internal continuity is removing the veils from this subject, and Huzur saying in this regard it should be 1/6, because parents, if they needed it before, if they personally needed it, then at that time why did they not receive more than 1/6? If the parents had personal need, then they should have received more than 1/6. So this idea is comparatively slightly away from the real aim. When the Quran says 1/6, then it's 1/6. When the Quran has said everywhere, it is said, has not mentioned a woman with a boy all the time, and it mentions 1, and then with the rest we conjecture, and we have to that is the Quran's conjecture. What we derive from the Holy Quran is more exalted than others. So when the Holy Quran mentions 1/6, he regards both as being equal and did not make any difference between the two. So whatever is left behind, who is that left behind for? In that there could be wasiyat, and also obviously any loans that are paid off, and if there's wasiyat, they'll think that it comes out from everywhere, but the wasiyat of 1/3 is cut from the portions. So if you remove that, then it will be left. But what I'm trying to tell you is that whatever it is, if the parents are given 1/6 because the fathers and sisters and brothers are present, then the brothers and sisters are being denied because they are giving the right and not because they are present, because this is no proof that if someone is present then the other will be denied it. If someone is present, then he can only be given if he deserves it, if he has the right. So this is the situation. So saying if you accept this, then what will be ascertained is if someone dies and he doesn't have any children, then the parents they will be instead of the children, and the real inheritance is between the children, is for the children or the parents, and the wives as well, because they are in the responsibility, so they also have a firm known share. So this is the nearest relations which are being mentioned. Therefore, they should be distributed to the brothers and sisters in terms of 1/6, and if they are brothers, then they'll get what was passed, and the rest of the portions will be distributed among the brothers and the sisters. And because of that, there'll be no burden on the parents, because the parents also are going to spend on the children, and except that unless it is given to them again. If it is given through the brother, then for the brother one has more love, or the people who are someone who's dying, and then you talk to them. Sorry, you pray for them, and then their memory lives with you. It is going to return to them practically, but there is no defect in here. There's not in the slightest. There's going to remain among them. The brothers and the sisters were going to receive it at the death of the father, and when a person who has inheritance is dying, then it means that they must have attained quite an old age, and then if after he dies they receive their parts, and so why should they not get it from this dead person? Whereas the inheritance remained between these people and didn't go out. So we're saying that I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking that the 1/6 principle should be kept, because I think the Quran is upholding it, and after the brothers and sisters are given, because eventually they're the ones who are going to get it. So, with reference to the dying person, dead person, if it's given, then it was returned to the father and then returned to them. And then once it was returned to the father, then neither the 1/6 remains and neither does the ratio of 2 to 1 remain. So it's a big defect that is born, because if this principle is accepted, then if the mother then gets 1/6, and then the rest, if it is given, the rest will then get 1/3, and still a large share will be left. But he says that the rest should be given to the father. If the rest is to be given to the father, because the brothers and sisters, etc., are not going to receive anything because they were only catalytic agents. If this was the case, then the whole subject of inheritance becomes ruined. The principle of 1 to 2 will not remain, neither of the 1/6 will remain, and a strange thing shall be born which Allah has not indicated towards at all. So it's better to not mention it, exactly what it says in the Holy Quran, and in such great detail, and one after the other. And so when you combine all these matters, and all this issue comes to an end. You're saying that he's not some Majus, I think, saying that the people who are creating hijab, they are all inheritors. So saying if there are inheritors, they will create hijab because he is more closer. If if someone is not an inheritor and they just make a screen in front of them, then I don't think that's acceptable.
ये सारे हो चुके हैं. बाकी एक जवाब हज़रत मुस्लिम मऊद ने
The rest, another answer that Muslim Azan has given is that for the lady, there is why is there half of the what the man gets. So we're saying this is a response that I have given repeatedly, that man has to have is responsible for looking after the house, etc. So he should get more in inheritance as well, more share of the inheritance.
हज़रत मुस्लिम मऊद ने यहाँ पहुँचकर
As a Muslim Adhan who has felt difficulty when he arrived at this point, that when if 1/6 is given to the mother and the rest is all given to the father, then this ratio of 1 and 2 will be spoiled, and he wanted to find a solution of this. And then if then some other share is left, if the 2 and 1 is maintained, then some portion of it will be left. So in this problem, he raised a question and he does not give an answer and leaves it like that. He says that here the question is raised that if a woman dies who doesn't have children, then 1/3 of her money will belong to the father and 1/3 shall belong to the mother. And so what about the father's share then? So we're saying the 1/6 is left. This is cannot belong to the father because it is less than the share of the mother. And about this, it is enough to say that when Allah has not mentioned the share of the father, then we should need to establish a share. Because we're saying that this issue, although it's from some other reference, but as far as I'm concerned, if the verse is followed the way I have shown it to be followed, then these issues are not even raised. Huzur said, let me take this again. It's a very important issue. Huzur saying that first I thought that the first matter, this is some new matter that the Muslim Azan is saying. He's raising another issue. If there is no children and there are brothers and sisters, that was something else. Leaving that, he's saying that there's a new thing that should be that he adds to it. So the question is that if such a woman dies who has no children, this is a Muslim Azanu statement, then from her 1/3 of her inheritance will belong to her husband and 1/3 to her mother. So we're saying how is this? Who's asking, looking for Imam Sahib? So we're saying at such difficult occasions he hides himself. If a woman dies who doesn't have children, and then her husband will receive something, and as will her father. If her husband was present, then how much will he get? 1/2, I think. Huzur saying this is with respect to the children. The husband should get 1/4. This was reading from the reference. This has got some confusion. He's trying to resolve. So he's saying it says it's wrong. What it says here is wrong. It doesn't mean to be 1/3. What is well known is that if a husband dies or a husband dies and he is without any children, then the wife gets 1/4. And if the wife dies and the husband will get 1/2, if they both have children and the wife dies first, then the husband will get 1/4, and if the father dies and he's got children, then the wife will get 1/8, and this is the issue, the subject. So whatever has been written here, that's been ignoring that. This is return to the scenario the Muslim is presenting. He's saying that if a woman dies who doesn't have children, this is the question, then what will her husband get? One third, and his mother, and 1/3 will belong to the mother, and so the husband will get half, and why should the mother then get 1/3? Who's saying, tell me this? Somebody made a comment which was not heard. Huzur saying, I'm not talking about the grandmother. Why will they get 1/3? Huzur saying that if you return to the issue, my point of view, then you'll be able to resolve this issue. If there is no children, then 1/3 and 2/3, one in the fathers and two for the father, and then the brothers have been regarded as being non-inheritors, and this is why the problem arises. If the brothers are regarded as being not inheritors, but the husband still has to have the inheritance, then if she takes it, then about the mother, she will think it will be considered that there are no children, so the same principle will apply, and the 1/3 will be taken by the mother, and none to the father. And this is not possible, because in every regard the rights of the male are more in this sense. But here the Prophet the second Khalifa has kept quiet, that if Allah has not mentioned it, then we shouldn't talk about it. He was saying that I think that the brothers have been presented as being the inheritors. So the translation would be that if someone dies and she doesn't have any children, and on the other hand she doesn't have any inheritors, then the mother shall get 1/3 and the father shall get more. And if there is another inheritor, then 1/6 will be okay for both of them, and the one which is left behind, either the brother will have it or other. If this husband is not there, then the woman's father and other relations are also sharers in the inheritance. So they're saying that if a woman dies and her husband, who is the inheritor, is present, then the set amount of the husband is 1/4. That will be given to him. One half, and the other half of that 1/6 and 1/6 will be distributed among the father and the mother equally, and then whatever is left, that can be used for sadaqah, for charity. So then there's no problem. So if this is something different, but the result is the same, that if anyone is regarded as hajib and not the inheritor, then its evil consequences will also apply to other verses, and this will also apply to other verses of the Holy Quran. So what I am regarding as being true, Huzur is saying that I have a further strength been given to it by the Muslim Islam saying, so the Muslim would not have stopped here. But this was his righteousness, that he stopped here. If it was someone else, they would have taken something out of it. But it's not essential that everything should be understood by everyone exactly. It is up to Allah. It's sometimes a great ulama sometimes father doesn't understand, the daughter understands. Who is saying that the trial that was put before David about the 99 ewes. Allah says in the Holy Quran, فَسَهَمْنَاهَا Sulaiman. Then why did Allah not teach Solomon or not David? So the trial was presented at the time when they were both alive, and it was presented in front of both of them. And why was it showed only to David, not to Solomon? Which means the reason is that the Sulaiman understood something which David could not understand, could not comprehend. So if someone says that who are you to say this in front of anyone else and to judge on a particular country's laws in this regard, but remember this, that the one who respects the Holy Quran is the one who will get respect, and our sympathies and our faithfulness should not be with our parents, should be with the Holy Quran. And in this regard, except for the Prophet ﷺ's edict, I do not regard any other person's edict to be prevalent, because he was called the Imam Mahdi and he was made the king of this whole era. Khalifas were for their own time, and they have the right to have their own edicts followed, obeyed, but you cannot present a previous Khalifa as a promissive point of view in front of another one, that if he presented something, then you can't say anything different. If the derivation is made from the Holy Quran and from the tradition, then any Khalifa of the time has this right. When that Caliph dies, then if another Caliph upholds it or lets it go, it's up to him. So in this case, there would be no internal contradiction. If that doesn't happen, then it will be like the papacy, who then said that no pope can ever make a mistake. Every pope is innocent of any mistakes. So then, if any pope is regarded as that, then his laws are regarded as being applicable not only in his lifetime but also afterwards. And then the coming popes disagreed with it, and the same kind of fighting took place among the Imam of Islam as well, that they regard a particular son as denying a title, and who's saying, who did he give it to Hazim? Who's saying, I'm talking about the sixth Imam. Ismailis are from the same section. Who's saying Ismail was the eldest son, and he should have received the imamate, and he was regarded as being false. His younger brother was made the imam, and the one who accepted this decision, they said that now this is continuing, this imamate is continuing, and this has gone ahead of 1/6, where those who did not accept this, they said that because the imam is free of any sin and innocent, Ismail, their son, he had already previously made him an imam. They had accepted him as an imam, and he had done inheritance in his favor, so he had no right to make a difference, otherwise it would be a mistake. So his decision is finished, and his being free of sin means that his decision in favor of his other son is wrong. So this is a very glaring internal contradiction. But when we ignore this and we say that who is free of, who is innocent of any doubt, anything wrong, we're only saying that no Khalifa is free of any such. We do believe that any decision of the Khalifa which is against the benefit of the Jamaat, then Allah will protect it, because the Jamaat has to listen to the Khalifa, or Allah will inform the Jamaat, and he can change it, and the Jamaat has to follow. So we're saying that the Khalifa's decision can never be permitted to harm the Jamaat. So, but with respect to the Holy Quran, every it's wrong to think that every Khalifa is completely innocent of any mistakes. And if this is correct, then we will have to assume that as we were saying that the difference between first Khalifa, we were saying that if I have any disagreement with him, people sometimes criticize me, but I don't care because I'm going to do exactly what my righteousness demands me to do, because I'm going to give my life to Allah. We were saying, but before I arrive at this, I wish to pray, and I pray and I seek forgiveness, and I always ask Allah's help that if I'm wrong, then remove this, enable me to not say anything which is wrong, and I should also not disagree with someone who has more knowledge than me. But if that's not the case, then I'm definitely compelled to say whatever the Holy Quran, I can understand, which I arrive at with righteousness, and until that time that decision will be upheld until I die. When I die, then the next Khalifa has a right to whether agree with me or with someone else, but there is no contradiction, because every Khalifa is his era is his own era, and I do not dare to disagree with the Prophet ﷺ, and neither has any other Caliph, because he was appointed by Allah in the sense, and he is free of any mistake. But then there can be another point. Someone say that I regard this to be what the Prophet ﷺ means, and you regard him to mean this, therefore you are wrong. Huzur is saying that in this you will have to then listen to the Khalifa. Huzur is saying that it is impossible for the Khalifa to understand a particular idea of the Prophet ﷺ, and then to have hold a contradictory point of view. Huzur is saying that it's the saying that someone loves a child more than the mother. This is completely wrong. The Khalifa has someone can say that this is what you believe, but I believe the Prophet ﷺ to have meant this. Huzur is saying people write this to me and I say that's fine, but as far as the Jamaat is concerned, the Khalifa presents a point of view before the Jamaat, and no man has a right to present his own point of view in contradiction to that of the Khalifa. Huzur is saying, do you understand? So today that is finished. Tomorrow inshallah we shall go back. We shall start again. Huzur is asking to find certain references. Huzur is saying that we should find out about this.